Finally, the long-awaited PVC rocket is ready. I first started designing this rocket in the summer of 2021. So yeah, it's been a while. PVC is a pretty bad material to build a rocket out of. It's heavy, it bends easily, and you can't glue anything to it but PVC. The original design would have looked like this. It would have used these large trapezoidal fins, and there would have been 4 of them. The fin design had these tabs, so what I would have done was mill slots in the tube and glue them in. You can probably already figure out this would have been a bad idea because you can't glue stuff to PVC. Eventually, I figured out these big fins caused too high of a stability margin, so I switched to using 3 smaller fins, which is the current design. The body tube is 3 feet long and has an outer diameter of 1.9 inches and an inner diameter of 1.6 inches. The nose cone is 3D printed and it's about a 2.5 to 1 ogive shape. The parachute is a huge 36-inch diameter nylon chute, and there are 3 3D printed fins. To avoid having to glue on these fins, I designed this special centering ring which is 3D printed. It's not only a centering ring for the motor mount, but it also has the 3 fins attached to it. The first thing I did was build the motor mount. It has 3 main parts, the motor tube and the 2 centering rings, both of which are 3D printed. I attached an eye bolt to the top centering ring and tied the shock cord to it, then I just had to glue the centering rings to the motor tube. I then cut slots in the tube so that when I inserted the motor mount, the fins on the centering ring were also able to go in. The next thing I did was I tied the shock cord around a quick link. I attached the swivel to the quick link, then the parachute to the swivel. The swivel is important because if the rocket starts spinning under the parachute during its descent, the parachute won't get twisted up, which will make it fall faster. I then tied the nose cone to the shock cord. The last step was to screw in the rail buttons. Their placement is pretty important because I screwed them in right where the centering rings are. This means there's more resistance to movement from the motor mount. I'm not really worried about the motor mount moving around, but it just makes it a little more sturdy. Altogether, the rocket is 41 inches tall, or about 104 centimeters. It weighs 917 grams, or a little over 2.02 pounds without the motor. However, the F50 motor we're using weighs 83 grams, so we get a perfect kilogram with the motor installed. So let's go launch this thing. Oh, no. Right after the rocket left the rail, it started heavily arcing to the side. I think this happened because of the relatively high stability margin and the fact that we only got to 100 miles an hour. The chute didn't stay attached, so it slammed into the ground. Thankfully, it wasn't near any people or cars because that thing is dangerous. When we recovered the chute later, we found that the eye bolt completely tore out of the 3D printed centering ring. When I found it, it was almost a foot deep in the mud, and when I pulled it out, the top part of the body tube was filled. You may have noticed the onboard camera in this picture, but for some reason it stopped recording after 9 seconds. It wasn't even out of battery when I recovered it. So basically we got it covered in mud for no reason, and oh yeah, the mount for it broke. A replacement mount from Estes is $10, so I think I'm just going to try to 3D print one. So not a perfect flight, but still pretty cool. Make sure to subscribe to not miss the next video about Mach Machine, our supersonic rocket. See you then.